your basic orientation to life and the the way that your character functions. The moon represents your emotions. So it's not so much how you express and put yourself out there, it's about how you respond to the things that the world presents to you. The sun is represents kind of an objective experience of life. You know, when we think about the sun, it symbolizes the things that are out there in our objective reality, the kind of things that we can all agree on. But the moon is very subjective. It has to do with your personal experience and how you feel about the things in the world. It has to do with your imagination and your response. So the moon is extremely important in astrology, and we're going to do some kind of a deep dive into the moon today. So I'm just gonna pull down my window so I can see you all. The moon represents your needs, and wherever you have the moon, whatever house the moon is in, that is a part of your life that goes through cyclical changes. You're not always the same in that house. Does that make sense, you guys?
Yeah.
Okay,
Can you
Tracy
give an
is,
example? Like cyclical change, like emotion, you mean?
I mean, you go through changes in that part of your house. So if the moon is in your sixth house, then that makes you sensitive and you go through changes in your health, in your job. The moon's in my 10th house and my career has undergone kind of cyclical changes. I started a brand, it didn't feel right, I sold it, and I started over again. And those are the kinds of changes and churning that you kind of go through.
So if it's in my first house, my personality changes?
Well, I would say that you have kind of a moony personality. You have moods, you have cycles. Does that make sense? You're not always in the same mood, are you?
No.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I've got my one of the reference books. I've shown you guys different references, and here's a good one. It's called Keywords for Astrology by Hayo Bonsoff and Anna Habler, and Tracy has a copy. That's excellent. So when I go to the page on the moon, I have the archetype is the mother and the child. They put the shadow of the moon as the monster that devours everything. That's probably because the moon is a part of us that is kind of dives into the subconscious realms. Do you know what I mean? Like things that are motivated by the sun are pretty outward and you're pretty conscious of. But when it's the moon, you might be semi-conscious of how you're emotionally reacting. It takes a little work to understand those motivations and those reactions sometimes, because they're rooted in the past. They're rooted in another archetype of the moon, which is your childhood. The moon specifically represents your experience of your mother in early life. The moon represents the inner nature, the feeling realm, the unconscious and instinctive reactions. The position of the moon shows in what direction you are urged, what you spontaneously react to, and what you instinctively detest and avoid. According to the cyclical character of the moon, these are delicate and erratic occurrences, which come and go according to their own rhythms. The moon also stands for the ability to establish contact, the longing for closeness and security, the home, the way of life, attachment to home, memories, and the need for emotional security. Together with Venus, the moon symbolizes the feminine principle in the horoscope. The moon embodies the motherly feminine element through reflecting the mother and the childhood experiences, as well as substitute mothers, even those of institutions like stock exchanges, universities, which are also called the alma mater or mother, and the mother church. So the strength of the moon is it makes you sensitive and soulful. You can you can relate to the mood of the public wherever your moon is. The problem area is that you're moody. You know? So, like everything in astrology, the moon can be either an asset or a liability in your chart, and sometimes it's both. Life is not black and white. It's not that simple. So let's take a dive into the moon. Does anybody have any questions at this point? Okay. Has anyone done the homework?
Well, there was a couple pieces that I just couldn't quite find answers for.
Okay.
I find blank soothing.
Okay. Well, let's pull up your chart. Is that all right?
Yeah. My moon's in Capricorn in my first house.
Okay. So what does Capricorn represent?
Well, being serious, responsible, which I completely relate to, practicals, ambitious, hardworking, industrious.
Okay. Do you find work soothing?
Well, it completely depends. Some work I do, other works I don't. Like if I'm medicine making, yeah, that's incredibly soothing to me. If I'm working on taxes like I was all day yesterday, no, I didn't.
Do you find having it done soothing?
Yeah, quite a bit.
There you go.
So explain that to me.
Well, Capricorn likes to have things in order, get it done.
So the completion of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I get that. Thank you.
Yeah. And of course, with the medicine making, look at the moon is conjunct in your chart. Remember conjunctions from birth charts for beginners?
I know that one just cracks me up. I love that.
What, that the moon is conjunct Chiron?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so Chiron is the wounded healer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there's the healing work is in the mix there too.
Yeah, very much so. And I do find doing any plant work very soothing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then the other one that I couldn't feel like I could tune into the answer was, I am tuned into the mood so it's in my first house.
Mm-hmm. Well, the first house it's almost like you embody the mood in a way. Does that make sense?
Almost.
Yeah. Are you tuned into your own feelings most of the time, would you say?
Oh, very much so.
Well, there you go.
So explain how you saw that.
How I saw
that I'm tuned into my own feelings. I very much so am, but when I'm trying to do it logically by looking at the card, and I don't.
Well, this is where we have to be translators, because sometimes when you put the card together, the sentences don't make a lot of sense, and we have to translate them into English.
Not my first language.
We have to translate astrologies, as I call it, into English.
Okay.
Have you ever had a reading where the astrologer just said, "Oh, well, this is conjunct your that, and this is into this house," and they don't really tell you what it means?
I have.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly how that feels. That's why I've been confused all these many long years.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, to be a good astrologer, you have to be able, not only to see the symbols and correctly interpret what the placements and the aspects are. You have to be able to translate them into English. Have I ever told you guys about my husband's teacher who taught him how to do past life regressions? His name was Roger Woolger, and he was English, and he was very funny. He had this very dry sense of humor, and he was very good with I guess, impressions or whatever. And he had this thing about astrologers. He said that you get a group of astrologers together, and they'll start talking about astrology, and they'll go, "Ooh, Neptune is rising in the 12th house," and he would make fun of like all these astrologers, bringing up all this technical stuff and then going, "Ooh." It's, I think, funny to imagine a much funnier person than me saying, saying this about astrologers. But yeah, we have to be able to translate what we're seeing into English, and that is something that comes with time and practice. I'm going to try to exemplify this for you, and then maybe challenge you to do a bit of it on your own. But sometimes we have to switch the pieces around to kind of make them fit. The translation goes a little easier when the moon's like in the 10th house. I'm tuned into the moon in my career. Easier to say. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And in the 6th house, I'm tuned into the mood in my workplace. But when it's yourself, well, I'm tuned into my own mood. I'm tuned into the cyclical nature of my identity. I don't always identify the same way. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. Does anyone else have a question or want to take a shot at the moon in your chart?
Yeah, okay.
Who is that?
Or I think
Me.
Okay, Sattva, great.
It's in the 2nd house, and I cannot relate with it.
It's in the 2nd? Do I have the right chart for you?
No. It's completely different from what I had. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, so I have August 28, 1942.
In the 5th house, yeah.
At 2:00 p.m.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
she just confirmed it.
Oh, so do I have the right chart?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, so it is in the 5th house.
And I had the wrong one. That's why it didn't relate, I think.
Oh, okay. Well, let's try it in the 5th house. So your emotions operate Aries, we would say. What are some keywords for Aries, you guys?
Assertively.
Uh-huh.
Independent.
Yeah. Straightforward.
Courageously.
Mm-hmm.
Competitively. Energetically.
Yeah. Okay, in her 5th house, which is her what?
Creativity.
Yeah.
And also other people, I think, like children or...
Mm-hmm.
I think it has not to be small children always.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So let's translate that into English.
Yeah.
All right. So Sattva's emotions operate in an Aries way. So an independent way, an assertive way, a straightforward way. So whereas others might hide their emotions, other signs might play it closer to the vest. Aries kind of puts it all out there, right? Does that make sense, Sattva?
Yeah, but I can.
Mm-hmm. The other side of Aries is they can be irritable, even angry at times. When things don't go your way, you can be, it can be kind of grating. Does that make sense?
Yeah, certainly in the past. Yeah.
Okay. What else do you guys think? Another thing that you can say about Moon in Aries is you find alone time soothing. You know,
Yeah.
Aries typically does not mind solitude. We're perfectly happy kind of in our own company. Does that make sense? Can be kind
Yeah.
of
Sure.
self-contained. Yeah, yeah. And maybe even most creative when you're kind of on your own. Does that make sense? Independent, free to make your own choices.
I make groceries.
Oh, look at you. Well, that's great. You may
She
be the
does.
only yoga teacher out there making rosaries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
does
Independent,
great.
self-aware.
I was going
Aries,
to say self-aware. Yeah.
yeah. Aries tends to blow through emotions quickly, you know, so you cycle through quickly and don't hold a grudge. You know, you
No.
feel it, you express it, it passes,
Yeah.
it's gone.
And I forget.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Aries blows hot, but it blows fast, you know. Okay. Well, that was great. That was great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Anyone else? Anyone else want to look at your moon?
I will.
All right. Let's do Katie and then we'll do Pat. Okay. Here's Katie's chart. Another Aries moon. Woohoo.
Woohoo!
Okay. So,
I did the homework.
oh,
So,
great. Let's hear what you got.
I said that my emotions operate courageously, idealistically, and inspiring in the way others see me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm good at starting things and opinionated in joint ventures.
Mm-hmm.
I find time alone very soothing. Absolutely. And it's also the time when I'm probably most creative,
Mm-hmm.
when I am alone. I'm tuned into the mood of my close relationships,
Mm-hmm.
and my nurturing urge comes alive in an honest, straightforward way in my marriage.
Fantastic. That's really good. And those ring true to you?
Yes, very much so. I don't find that. I mean, I think in the past when you were talking with Satva about the negative side of Aries, I that was in the past. I don't find that I have that now. I find I'm much more balanced. But emotional, you mentioned emotional security, and I think that's really been the big thing for me. If I have emotional security in my relationships, then that makes all world of difference.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. And do your relationships go through changes and cycles?
I would say yes. I find that I think with my marriage, I would probably say not so much now that I'm in a relationship that's emotionally secure. It's not the cycles aren't extreme like they might have been if I was in a different type of relationship. So that emotional security has become a huge factor for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's really good. Another thing to know about the seventh house, you guys, is that the seventh house describes what we're looking for in a partner. And so that's the suggestion is that Katie is looking for someone who kind of nurtures and nourishes her independence and supports her doing her thing the way that she wants to do it. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. That was my one of the things that my husband said before when I was first dating him because he's from the US and I'm from Canada. So we had a long distance relationship. He said, "I promise I will never try to control you." And I went, "Whoa."
Yeah.
That got my attention. and he's very, very supportive in my life and what I do. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, it seems like we are Aries moon rich in this class because Barbie just messaged me to tell me, remind me that she has an Aries moon as well. Should we look at yours, Barbie?
No, that's fine. Go with others that need to do this. I'm good. I'm good.
Okay. Well, I was hoping for an Aries moon master class.
Oh, not quite.
Okay, does anyone have another moon that you would like to look at? Pat. That's right. We were going to do Pat.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, here's Pat's chart. Pat has a Sag moon.
The fire.
Okay, so what did you get for the Sag moon? Did you do the homework?
I did. I have my emotions operate optimistically in my desire to accumulate personal resources.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I picked out. Maybe it wasn't the best one. Yeah, but it's probably true. I have another one that says, I am independent and also adventurous about my needs in my the physical substance of my body.
Okay.
And that does ring true because I'm always looking for a way to get healthier. So, and slim down and look less than 70 years old and such.
You definitely succeeded in that. Cheers.
Then I find being aware of the big picture soothing.
Oh, good.
That truly is me. I like to see kind of what's the whole thing. Once I have a picture of the whole thing, then I can start dealing with whatever needs to be dealt with if there's anything. I am tuned into the mood in my second house of values.
Okay.
And last but not least, I've got my nurturing urge comes alive in an adventurous way in my house of travel and growth. I don't know what nurturing about that. Maybe I nurture friends to go on trips with me, or I used to before COVID, but yeah.
My teacher, Lance, always said that people with Sagittarius moons feel at home on the road.
On the road?
Yeah. Always up for an adventure.
I think I would say I do feel at home on the road. Yeah, I like this. My husband and I were thought very briefly about like buying a summer place on a lake, and we both we were just early first married, and we never did that because we would rather just go and try new places all the time, and that makes sense here. Now that I see, he's a Virgo too. I don't know where his moon is off the top of my head though.
Yeah. Sag is one of the mutable signs. Mutable means changeable. So there's a tendency to do things different, to want to explore. Obviously, Sag is a sign of exploration. The mutable signs are more, they'll take a little bit from here, a little bit from there, kind of like butterflies, right? Not always the same. Adaptable and okay with change. I have a fixed moon, and I'm fine with either not leaving the house or going to visit the same place every year, because I like to watch a place kind of cycle and grow, and I like to return to it. And there's something that feels really soothing and homey about, kind of staying put to me and really getting to know a place. That's not a lot of people would be quite bored by my lifestyle. Okay, you guys have any questions about that? Oh, that was really great, Pat. I really and you like I think it was Tracy have your moon conjunct Chiron, you know, and
Yes.
that is, you know, kind of the soothing nature of attending to your own health, doing things to benefit your health. Tracy makes her own herbal medicines, and you know, this is also the idea of reaching out to others and helping others, teaching others.
About their health.
Yeah, or just teaching them about anything, teaching them about how to use resources, second house, teaching them skills, second house.
Yeah. Or there's that teacher thing again.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is. I do like to do that.
Yeah, and not only that, you know, the moon is things that are comforting to us. So comfort and discomfort. So there's, you know, with Sag, there's the discomfort of, you know, not being able to spread your wings and do different things. That, you know, that if Sag feels penned in, if they kind of lose that ability to circulate and move around and be mobile, then that can be very emotionally upsetting to them. Well, whereas other signs, you know, if you have to leave and circulate around, then that can be upsetting. It's just, you know, different things for different people.
I know this is a tiny bit off topic, but did anybody get to see the eclipse? It didn't really show up here in Oregon, so I was very disappointed.
No, I did not see it myself.
No, but I did try to do, Tracy, and I accomplished it, but I did ask Molly for a correction. The exercise on the eclipse, where does it fall in your house?
Oh, yeah.
Remember, Molly, I sent it to you and you said, no, it's the 5th house, not the 6th house.
Mm-hmm.
Right, Cancer, 0 Cancer. But anyhow, yes, that's a fun one to do. If anyone wants.
Wow.
I think I did, and now I don't remember. I think I did look it up, but now I don't remember now.
Well, where was the eclipse? Where was it located?
That I can't answer. You mean on the you mean physically or astrologically?
Yeah, what was it? What sign was it in?
Molly, do you know?
The lunar eclipse the other day was in Capricorn, 13 degrees Capricorn.
Sorry.
The solar eclipse 2 weeks ago was at 0 degrees Cancer. And the lunar eclipse prior to that was around 15, around the middle of Sagittarius. So here's how.
Question real quick. Is the solar eclipse, that's on the site as well? You can practice doing that one?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
That one is on the, you know, I had a note to send you guys the link to my eclipse post. And from that post is linked another page about the eclipses and the houses and what does it mean when an eclipse hits a house in your chart. So I will make a note to send that to you.
And so
I did do it.
So the outer.
I'm sorry, Pat.
So the outer ring. Thanks. So the outer ring shows that the moon was conjunct my south node.
No, this is the south node conjunct your moon. This is your chart in the middle and the current transits, today's transits on the outer ring. So I'm going to go back to the eclipse. And to do that, I'm just going to go moon, opposite sun, and go back to, oops. Okay, July 5th. So here's the lunar eclipse. We see the sun at 13 Cancer, directly opposite the moon at 13 Capricorn. And we can see that moon is located inside Pat's second house. Okay, so we know that the eclipse was in her second house. Now, if you don't happen to have the transit wheel on the outside, let me show you how to find it in your birth chart. Let's look at a different chart. Let's open up maybe, let's look at Tor's chart. And we know, I'm going to give you the piece of information that the July 5th eclipse was at 13 degrees Capricorn. So we're using an unequal house system right now. This is the this is equal house. Okay. We use equal houses for Tor because his chart is so far north that when you use unequal houses, the houses get too wide. Some are too wide and some are too narrow. So that's why we're using the equal house system for our Tor. So in this house system, every house cusp begins at 3 degrees. 3 degrees Virgo, 3 degrees Libra, 3 degrees Scorpio, 3 degrees Sag, 3 degrees Capricorn, 3 degrees Aquarius, and so on. So we know that the lunar eclipse was at 13 degrees of Capricorn. So which house was it in Taurus chart? Who can tell me?
In the 5th house.
That's right. That's right. What about the prior eclipse that was at 0 degrees Cancer?
That would have been in the 10th, right?
That's right. That's right. Do you guys see that?
Oh,
Do you guys see that? Let me show you a different wheel that's going to make this a little clearer. Okay, that's not it. Let's see. There it is. There it is. So the signs and the houses, you guys, are not the same. The houses in Taurus chart start at 3 degrees. So the houses, a little bit of each sign is in the prior house. Does that make sense? A little bit of each sign is in the prior house. Okay? Does that make sense?
How would that affect the house, Molly? Or would it?
Well, everything affects everything else in astrology, but this is just showing you the degree on the cusp. The degree on the cusp of the house is telling you where in that sign that house begins. And we are to understand by looking at this degree. See, if I put this in a different system, what we see, and this is true in most charts, is we're going to see the degree of that sign that is on that cusp. And we are to understand that the first 3 degrees of Cancer are on this side of the line, and the rest of Cancer is on that side of the line. Okay? Want to look at another one?
Yes.
Okay. So, little Paige, I want you to mute for a sec. What house in John's chart is 0 Cancer? Who can tell me? All right, which house has Cancer on the cusp?
Fifth house.
You're right, towards the 5th house. So the 6th house has Cancer on the cusp. But the first 13 degrees of Cancer are contained in the 5th house. Whereas the rest of Cancer is in the 6th house. And then Leo begins in the 6th house. And then 11 degrees Leo on the 7th house cusp. The rest of Leo is in the 7th house, along with the first 18 degrees of Virgo. All right, you guys remember? You guys are starting to understand this? Do you want to?
So, but it seems backwards to me. Like the 18 degrees of Virgo,
Yeah,
it would have been before that, like in the 7th. Well, however this is now.
Yeah, the first 18 degrees of Virgo are there in the 7th house. And then the cusp of the 8th house is at 18 degrees. And the rest of Virgo is in the 8th house. Okay? The Virgo Libra cusp is in the 8th house. The rest of Libra is in the 8th house. Planet, there's Neptune. Okay?
Right.
And then the next cusp. The next sign cusp is located in the 9th house.
Does that mean that Libra is intercepted in this chart?
No, because Libra owns the doorway to the 9th house.
And and we have to also add that there was 2 other points we had to look at: Sagittarius and Capricorn when we did the wholeness of the thing, right? When you go back and when you send that assignment or that information, you look at 00 Cancer, and I believe it was Sagittarius and 13 Cap. You have to look at all 3 points.
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah. When you're doing the delineating the eclipses for yourself, you want to include all the eclipses of the season. There's either 2 eclipses or 3 in every eclipse season, and this one happens to be one where there is 3.
When you say season, what period of time are you talking about, Molly?
Eclipses happen every 6 months.
Ah.
They come in either pairs or trios. So we just had eclipse season. We'll have eclipse season again at the end of the year.
Do they come 6 months to the day?
No. Mm-mm.
Approximately.
No, approximately every 6 months. What we're looking at here is every eclipse is, let me go back and we'll just pull up the clock. These are the transits of the day, okay? This is the north node and the south node. They're a pair. They're always opposite each other, and they're always moving retrograde. They move retrograde at the rate of 1 full circle every 18 years and some change. So I'm approximating here, but every 18 years, the nodes are going to come full circle. An eclipse is a new moon or a full moon that occurs within 18 degrees of those nodes. Okay, so the eclipses too are also cycling backwards through time, but they're always hanging around the nodes. Does that make sense? Okay, so let's pull the chart back up. Let's get John's chart back up and answer me the question. Okay, we established that the solar eclipse at 0 Cancer was in his 5th house. What about the lunar eclipse at 13 Capricorn? What house was that?
That would be in the 12th house.
Yeah, very close to the cusp of the 12th house, actually. Yeah. And then there was another eclipse in Sagittarius at I don't remember the exact degree.
I think it was 18 Sag.
Yeah, that sounds right. Okay, so what house is 18 Sag in John's chart?
The 9th.
Is that the 9th?
Uh,
Libra on the cusp, the whole sign of Scorpio intercepted. That's what an interception is. And then Sag on the cusp of the 10th.
Oh, so it would be the 10th.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the 10th house begins at 1 Sag. It's a tiny house, right? It begins at 1 Sag, ends at 21 Sag. So it's kind of a squished up house. And that eclipse would have taken place in the 6th house. The 10th house.
And so again, then that lasts to like December, the vibration,
Yeah. So I think of an eclipse season as changing the wallpaper. Okay, so you're gonna take down the old wallpaper and you're gonna put up new wallpaper. And that wallpaper is going to stay in place until the next set of eclipses comes in 6 months, takes that wallpaper down, puts new wallpaper back up.
Well, wallpaper, I think, would a synonym for that be your environment?
Yeah, but it's kind of like the vibes of the environment. Yeah,
Vibes.
it's the energetic wallpaper. So that eclipse is going to set in motion a background energy that will play out over that 6-month period. And if you read my blog post about the eclipses, I looked at them in the context of the chart of the United States and what these eclipses, what wallpaper those eclipses have established in, the vibe of the nation, which is pretty intense, and it's pretty interesting to look at right now. It's kind of stressful to live through, but you can see the historic nature of this period, that of these events that got set in motion around the time that this eclipse season began in June.
Yeah, I see astrology like a symphony playing out, pretty much.
Yeah, yeah, that's a really good metaphor.
Mm-hmm.
So this would be like the one of the drum beats. Yeah, that's great, Barbie.